In the quiet solitude of his study, Marcus Aurelius sat before a simple desk, the flickering candlelight casting soft shadows on the worn parchment before him. His thoughts flowed steadily, not as words intended for others, but as a quiet reflection to himself, a way to make sense of the world and his place within it. The weight of leadership, the complexities of life, and the unrelenting passage of time often tested his inner peace. Yet, in this stillness, he wrote, Meditations was not a manual for others, but a series of musings on how to live virtuously, how to cultivate inner peace amidst the chaos, and how to master the tempest of emotions that so often threatened to uproot his tranquility. With every word, he reminded himself of the importance of focusing on the present moment, accepting the course of fate, and embracing the deep interconnection between all beings. In the quiet darkness of his chamber, the soft flicker of a small candle cast gentle shadows on the walls. Marcus Aurelius sat still, his hands resting calmly on the table before him. He was not in a hurry, not racing against time. Everything in the room seemed to pause, leaving only the steady rhythm of his breath, like a river flowing calmly through his thoughts. Suddenly, a surge of emotion arose within him. Anger, a familiar feeling from years of leadership. The disputes, the painful decisions, and the inevitable losses had built up inside him like a small storm. Yet, he did not allow this storm to rise. He observed these thoughts not with panic, but with serene detachment. Marcus understood that anger was merely a passing wave. It was not a part of his true self. Like a wave crashing upon the shore, it could rise and fall, but it did not last. He allowed the emotion to surface and then fade away, knowing that it would pass in time. His mind, like a clear sky after a storm, would remain untouched by the turbulence of fleeting feelings. He knew that true peace came from the mastery of one's emotions. Anger and frustration were powerful forces, but they were not to be feared. Instead, they were to be understood and controlled. With every deep breath, Marcus reminded himself that the control over his emotions was the key to maintaining his inner tranquility. Through this practice, he found that his mind could remain at peace, no matter what chaos unfolded around him. In the stillness of the room, Marcus understood. The mastery of one's emotions was the path to enduring peace, the kind of peace that no external circumstance could disturb. The room was still, bathed in the soft glow of the early morning light. Marcus sat, unmoving, his eyes focused ahead, but not fixed on anything in particular. The world outside continued to unfold, indifferent to his presence. The rustling of the trees, the distant hum of life, and the steady passage of time. In this stillness, he found clarity. He understood deeply that there were forces at work beyond his control. Life's inevitable ups and downs, its joys and sorrows, the twists of fate that no one could predict or avoid. He thought of the battles he had fought, the decisions that had cost him dearly, and the moments when life had seemed to unfold in ways he never imagined. But rather than fight against these moments, he had learned to accept them. His gaze softened as he reflected on how futile it was to wrestle with the things he could not change. The winds of fate could not be tamed. The waves of fortune could not be stopped. They would come and go, indifferent to his wishes. But what he could control, what he always had the power to shape, was how he responded. The only true power lay not in changing the world around him, but in mastering his own reactions. He could choose to meet each challenge with calm, each loss with grace, each victory with humility. It was this mastery, this deep acceptance of fate, that defined him. In that moment, Marcus realized that peace was not found in avoiding adversity or controlling the uncontrollable, but in accepting what life presented, however difficult or unpredictable. True happiness, he understood, did not come from the absence of hardship, but from the ability to remain at peace regardless of the circumstances. It was a quiet understanding, a freedom that could not be taken away, no matter what fate brought his way. The room was quiet, save for the gentle rustling of the parchment in front of Marcus. His hand rested lightly on it, his fingers tracing the words, but his mind was not lost in them. The present moment, the only moment he truly had, was all that mattered. The past had already passed, a river that could not be crossed again, its waters long gone. The future, unknown and elusive, was a path he could not see. Yet here, in this very moment, he found peace. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs, and for a brief moment, the world outside seemed to fade away. The worries, the distractions, the endless thoughts of what was and what might be, all of them disappeared. Only the now remained. It was in this quiet, unhurried stillness that he could truly be himself. The sounds of the world outside, the distant hum of the city, the whisper of the wind through the trees, faded into the background. It was as if time itself paused, and all that mattered was the action in front of him. He focused on the present moment with unwavering attention. The simple task of breathing, of being. There was no rush, no desire for something more. Marcus understood that in this simplicity lay true freedom. The past, with all its regrets and missed opportunities, had no hold on him. The future, with its endless uncertainties, was not something to fear. What he could control was the here and now. And in this present he found a deep, abiding peace. With each deliberate breath, he reminded himself, this moment was enough. This action, this very breath, was all that mattered. There was no need for distraction, no need to chase after what was already gone or what was yet to come. The true art of living was in embracing the present, fully and completely, without hesitation or fear. The morning sun poured softly through the open window, casting warm golden rays across the room. Marcus sat by the window, his gaze fixed on the horizon, where the vast expanse of the world seemed to stretch endlessly. In that stillness, he felt the connection between all things, as if the very air he breathed was shared by every living being. He thought of the people beyond his palace walls, the soldiers, the farmers, the merchants, and all who lived their lives in different ways, yet were bound together by the same thread of existence. Each person, in their own way, played a part in the grand symphony of life. No one was truly alone. All were connected, interwoven into the fabric of the world. The leaves of the trees rustled gently in the breeze, and Marcus could almost feel their quiet presence, the way they gave life to the air, the way they absorbed the sun's energy, and in turn provided shelter and sustenance to the creatures around them. Everything had a purpose, a role to play in the delicate balance of the world. With every passing thought, Marcus understood more deeply that his own actions, no matter how small, were part of this larger system. His choices, his virtues, his commitment to live with integrity, all of these contributed to the greater good. He was not an isolated figure distant from the world. He was a part of it, a thread in the vast tapestry of existence. He realized that true fulfillment came not from seeking personal gain, but from living in harmony with others, recognizing that his well-being was intertwined with theirs. By living virtuously, by choosing kindness, justice, and wisdom, he was doing his part to maintain the balance of the world. It was in these small acts of goodness that the world, as a whole, flourished. The gentle breeze carried with it the sense of unity, and Marcus felt a deep, quiet peace knowing that he was a part of something much greater than himself. In this interconnectedness, he found his purpose, not in the pursuit of power or wealth, but in the simple act of contributing to the well-being of the whole. As Marcus Aurelius placed his quill down, the room fell silent once more. The flickering candlelight danced softly, casting a warm glow on the words he had written. In the stillness, he felt a deep sense of peace settle within him. The battles of life, the triumphs, and the losses were but fleeting moments in the grand scheme of existence. What mattered now was how he responded to them. Through his reflections, he had come to understand that true strength was not found in conquering the world, but in mastering oneself. His thoughts were no longer just words on parchment. They were guiding principles, a reminder that the path to peace lay in controlling his emotions, accepting fate, embracing the present, and living in harmony with the world around him. And in that quiet understanding, Marcus found the lasting serenity he had been seeking all along.